may start now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 days ago, the Finance Minister presented to us the media review and came by a statement. Mr. Speaker, a lot of statements were made during the presentation that are factually inaccurate. First of all, we need to agree on the fact that in 2019, even before COVID-19, the government of the day had already plunged this country into serious fiscal quagmire. Mr. Speaker, the fact remains that this government has never successfully implemented an ECF program from the IMF. Mr. Speaker, in 2019, April, the government of Ghana wrote to the IMF requesting the IMF to allow them to exit from the program that they inherited because they could not meet the performance criteria. At the time, Mr. Speaker, they had missed the criteria on the wage bill, they had missed the criteria on the net international reserves, and as a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, they had missed the criteria on the central bank being barred from providing and printing money for government. And yet they went pleading with the IMF that after having added 1 more year, they were simply not going to be able to meet the criteria, and so they should be allowed to go home. So it never happened that this government succeeded in running that IMF program, but they ran away from the program after 4 years. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, it is becoming very clear that we are heading toward the same trajectory. We are only 2 years into the IMF program, and already about 6 of the performance criteria have been missed. Mr. Speaker, as at the end of the year, or at the middle this mid-year, the government had already spent 4.5 billion Ghana cedis on accumulation of arrears. They had accumulated additional arrears, even though the IMF program says that throughout the program period, government should not accumulate any arrears. Mr. Speaker, the government also defaulted and missed one of its key performance criteria, which is that they have to design and begin the implementation of a credible, comprehensive, and cost-effective plan to address the solvency problem of the IMF. As we speak, there is no such plan after almost 2 years of implementing the program. Mr. Speaker, they were supposed to have cabinet-approved proposals for amendment to the Bank of Ghana Act. As at May, no such amendment has been presented to the Cabinet of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, we were expected to record changes in our net international reserves. Mr. Speaker, we missed it in March, we missed it in June, and we are looking at September 2024. Mr. Speaker, again, we were supposed to observe certain criteria that were supposed to lead to us spending a certain minimum amount of money on social spending. And I heard my colleague talk a lot about social spending. Mr. Speaker, again, we have missed the expenditure on social spending. So clearly, they are heading towards the same situation we were in 2019 when they failed to implement the program and ran away from the program. But Mr. Speaker, in 2019, this government has been at pains to explain that it is because of COVID-19, that is why we're in this situation that we find ourselves. But the Bank of Ghana issued a statement indicating that as at the time that we exited the program in May 2019, the government of Ghana 5 months later was struggling with major concerns within the fiscal environment. The Bank of Ghana, in the monetary policy statement of September 2019, made it very clear that the governor was very concerned with our fiscal situation and that we are likely to end the year in 2019 with huge fiscal deficit. So, Mr. Speaker, it is not true that the problems are attributable to COVID-19. And again, when the Minister of Finance appeared before this House when we looked at the matters that affected us during the approval of the COVID-19, the central bank agreed that we approved only 10 billion Ghana cedis from the bonds that were supposed to issue from the Bank of Ghana. And they raided the Bank of Ghana and took 80 billion Ghana cedis. When the audited accounts of Bank of Ghana were released in 2022, in the midst of all the hue and cry, the governor of the central bank issued a statement to clarify why we were in that mess. And in that statement, I have it in my hand. Nowhere did the governor mention COVID-19 or Russia-Ukraine war as the basis for where we were. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would like to refer to the statement. Mr. Speaker, the governor indicated that the exceptional support that we received as a result of COVID-19 were not aligned to expenditures, and that when we approved the budget in 2022, that budget itself was highly expansionary. In other words, we had engaged in spending a lot of money that we didn't have, to the extent that the budget expansion was almost 23% more than was expected. As a result, our economy went into an overdrive. As a result, investors lost confidence in our economy, and as a result of that, the international capital market was closed to us because they did not trust the numbers that we produced. This is the statement from the governor of the central bank. And so for anybody to assume that our challenges were attributable to COVID-19, the governor in his statement said that it was because of fiscal expansion and that we were reckless in our fiscal, which was the reason why we had the problems we had. But Mr. Speaker, it is very clear that when the Minister for Finance appeared before us to deliver the statement regarding the mid-year review, he did not provide any hope to the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, there wasn't even a single measure that could help alleviate the suffering of them. By the time the minister left, the fact still remained that the dollar was exchanging at almost 16 cedis to the cedi. By the time he left, it was obvious that we were buying diesel at 15 cedis to the liter. By the time the minister left, the reality remained that they mismanaged this economy to register a depreciation in the cedi of about 54% in 2022. The fact still remains that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in 2016 ran this economy without picking even 1 penny of printed money from the central bank. Mr. Speaker, by November 2018, the government had already derailed the program of the IMF and was beginning to print money even way back in 2018. Mr. Speaker, this was against the memorandum of understanding that was signed between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. So clearly, the printing of money has been their stock of trade all this while. Mr. Speaker, when they appeared before us, they tried to create the impression that they had something new to offer. Mr. Speaker, I did not see anything new. It is the reason that even in the period that we find ourselves, where a lot of our youth are unemployed, you begin to see a government in power actually preying on the vulnerability of our unemployed youth. You move unemployment from 8% to 14%, and all you can tell the unemployed youth who are looking up to you to tell them how you create the jobs for them, to tell them how they will get the next meal. What you tell them is that you give them mobile phones so that every month they will pay 1 cedi, 2 cedi. How does that create a solution to the unemployment situation? This is a visionless government that they intentionally created this unemployment for they could pay them for election purposes. Otherwise, why will you look the unemployed in the face and you are not telling them how you are getting them a job, but you are telling them you want to saddle them with a mobile phone so that they pay 1 cedi, 2 cedi every month? Mr. Speaker, the youth, the kind of phones that the youth of today, the Gen Zs use, Mr. Speaker, is the iPhone 14 and iPhone 16. One of it is about 20,000 cedis. By the time they finish paying 1 cedi and 2 cedi, I'm not sure we'll find even Dr. Baumier's bones in his grave. Is that how you are going to run this economy? Quite clearly, this is a clueless group of people. No wonder when they tell you that they will build 32-seater toilet at Abobloshi, you should know that the next morning they are coming to evict you from Abobloshi so that they don't have to build those toilets. When they come to tell you that they are going to build the Kwalugu multi-purpose dam, you should remember that they are only looking for avenue to steal that money. And the Auditor General has already explained to us that over $11 million, over $11.9 million, almost $12 million, has been spent on Kwalugu, and when you go there, there is not even a stone that has been dumped there. Mr. Speaker, how do we go about spending monies for work no done?
Honorable Member, your time is up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.